A 6-year-old girl standing alone on a sidewalk at 7 in the morning, barefoot, still in her pajamas, 3 miles from home. No phone, no jacket, no adult. Just a piece of paper clutched in her hand with an address written in crayon. And when the police found her and asked where she was going, she didn't say home. She didn't say school. She said, "I'm going to find Rosa. Because today is my birthday and Rosa is the only person who remembers." What this billionaire's daughter did that morning exposed a truth he never wanted to face. If you believe that the people who truly love us prove it through actions and not words, subscribe right now and drop a comment. Tell me about someone who showed up for you when nobody else did. Stay with me because this ending will sit with you for days. Now let me take you back to where it all started. Daniel Carter pulled into the driveway of his house in Scottsdale, Arizona at 6:15 on a Tuesday evening. It was a big house, 6 bedrooms, a pool, a 3-car garage, and enough square footage that you could go an entire day without running into another person inside it. Daniel had built his money in commercial real estate, shopping centers, office parks, apartment complexes across the Southwest. At 42, he was worth more than most people could count, and he lived like it. But the house felt different lately, not because of the furniture or the layout or anything you could see. It felt different because of who was in it. 8 months ago, Daniel had started dating a woman named Vanessa Cole. She was 34, tall, sharp-featured, and worked in luxury event planning. She had walked into his life at a charity gala in Phoenix and hadn't left since. Within 3 months, she had moved into the house. Within 5, she had started making changes. New curtains, new dishes, new rules about how things should be done and who should be doing them. And at the center of almost every change was one target: Rosa. Rosa Delgado had been Daniel's housekeeper for 4 years. She had started working for him when Lily was 2, right after Daniel's divorce from Lily's mother, Karen. Karen had moved to Chicago after the split. She called once a month, sometimes less. She sent gifts on holidays that arrived late and were always the wrong size. For all practical purposes, Lily had one parent. And for the hours that parent was at work, which was most of them, Lily had Rosa. Rosa was 36 years old, born and raised in Tucson. She had no children of her own. She had a younger brother named Marco, who worked construction in Flagstaff, and a mother who lived in a nursing home in Mesa with early-stage dementia. Half of Rosa's paycheck went to that nursing home every month. The other half covered her rent, her car payment, and the groceries she bought for herself, and sometimes for Marco when his jobs dried up between seasons. She was quiet. She was consistent. She showed up every morning at 6:30 and left every evening at 7. She cleaned the house, did the laundry, prepared meals, and took care of Lily. But the phrase, "took care of Lily," doesn't come close to describing what Rosa actually did. Rosa was the one who woke Lily up every morning, not with an alarm or a shout from down the hall, but by sitting on the edge of her bed, rubbing her back gently, and saying, "Good morning, mija. Time to start the day." She made Lily breakfast every single morning, not cereal from a box, actual breakfast. Eggs, toast, fruit cut into small pieces, a glass of milk. She sat with Lily while she ate. She asked her about her dreams. She listened to the answers. When Lily started preschool at age 3, Rosa was the one who walked her to the car every morning, buckled her seatbelt, and told her to be brave. When Lily came home crying because another kid took her crayon, Rosa was the one who sat on the kitchen floor with her and said, "Some people take things. That doesn't mean you stop sharing. It means you find better people to share with." Rosa taught Lily how to tie her shoes. Rosa taught her how to write her name. Rosa was the one who sat with her for 45 minutes one night because Lily was scared of the shadow the tree made on her bedroom wall, and Rosa didn't leave until Lily fell asleep. Daniel knew Rosa was good with Lily. He saw it in passing. He came home and Lily was fed, bathed, happy, and ready for bed. That was enough for him. He didn't ask how they spent the day. He didn't ask what Lily had learned or what she had said or what made her laugh. He just saw the result and assumed everything behind it was fine. That was his first mistake. His second mistake was Vanessa. Vanessa moved into the house in March. By April, she had started commenting on Rosa's work. Small things at first. The floors weren't clean enough. The towels were folded wrong. The groceries Rosa bought weren't the brands Vanessa preferred. Rosa adjusted without complaint. She changed the cleaning products. She folded the towels the way Vanessa wanted. She bought the expensive brands from the store across town, even though it added 40 minutes to her errands. But the complaints didn't stop. They grew. By May, Vanessa had started going to Daniel directly. She would wait until evening when he was tired from work, pour him a drink, and bring up Rosa in a tone that sounded concerned, but wasn't. "I don't want to overstep, Daniel, but I noticed Rosa left early again today. I think she's getting a little too comfortable." Rosa hadn't left early. She had left at 7 like she always did. But Daniel didn't check. He just nodded and said he'd talk to her. "I saw Rosa giving Lily candy before dinner. I told her not to, but she did it anyway. I just think she doesn't respect boundaries." Rosa had given Lily one small piece of chocolate after she finished her homework, something she had done every day for 2 years. But Daniel didn't ask Rosa for her side. He just told her to stop giving Lily snacks before meals. Each time, Vanessa's version was slightly twisted. Not a full lie. Just enough distortion to make Rosa look careless, overstepping, unreliable. And each time, Daniel believed it without question. Because it was easier. Vanessa wasn't stupid. She didn't attack Rosa all at once. She understood that if she pushed too hard too fast, Daniel might push back. So she did it slowly. One comment a week, one raised eyebrow, one disappointed sigh after Rosa left for the night, and she saved her biggest moves for the moments when Daniel was most distracted. In June, Daniel was closing a $30 million deal on a mixed-use development in Tempe. He was working 14-hour days, leaving before Lily woke up and coming home after she was in bed. He barely saw his daughter. He barely saw anything. That was when Vanessa made her move. She called Daniel at his office on a Thursday afternoon. Her voice was calm but tight, the voice of someone delivering bad news they've been holding in. "Daniel, I need to tell you something, and I don't want you to overreact." Daniel leaned back in his chair. "What happened?" "I came home early today and found Lily crying in her room. I asked her what happened, and she said Rosa yelled at her." Daniel sat up. "Rosa yelled at Lily?" "That's what Lily told me. She was really upset. I calmed her down, but I think we need to have a serious conversation about whether Rosa is the right person to be around your daughter." Daniel's jaw tightened. He didn't call Rosa. He didn't ask Lily. He sat in his office with Vanessa's words in his head and the image of his daughter crying, and he felt something shift in how he saw the woman who had been in his house for 4 years. Here's what actually happened that day. Lily had been playing on the kitchen counter, climbing up to reach a jar of cookies on the top shelf. Rosa walked in and saw her daughter balanced on the edge of the granite countertop, one wrong move from falling onto the tile floor. Rosa raised her voice, not screaming, not yelling, the sharp, urgent voice that every caregiver uses when a child is about to get hurt. "Lily, get down right now. You're going to fall." Lily got startled and cried, not because she was scared of Rosa, because she was surprised by the sudden noise. She stopped crying within 2 minutes. Rosa held her, explained why climbing the counter was dangerous, and gave her a cookie from the jar herself. By the time Vanessa walked in 20 minutes later, everything was fine. Lily was sitting at the table drawing. Rosa was cleaning the kitchen. There was nothing to report. But Vanessa asked Lily one question. "Were you crying earlier, sweetie?" And Lily, being 6 years old and honest the way 6-year-olds are, said yes. Vanessa didn't ask why. She didn't ask what happened before or after. She took that one word and built a story around it. A story she delivered to Daniel like a concerned partner who had no choice but to speak up. And Daniel believed it. 2 weeks later, he came home early on a Friday. Vanessa was sitting in the living room waiting for him. She had a look on her face that Daniel would later realize she had been rehearsing. "We need to talk about Rosa," Vanessa said, before Daniel even set his briefcase down. Daniel stood in the doorway. What now? Vanessa folded her hands in her lap. I didn't want it to come to this, but I've been watching the situation for weeks, and I don't think Rosa is good for Lily. She's too attached. It's not healthy. Lily depends on her more than she depends on us, and that's not how it should be in this house. Daniel looked at her. She's been with us for 4 years, Vanessa. And that's the problem. She's not Lily's mother. She's the housekeeper. But Lily doesn't see it that way, and the longer Rosa stays, the harder it's going to be. I'm telling you this because I care about your daughter. Daniel was quiet for a long time. He looked down the hallway toward Lily's room. He could hear Rosa in the kitchen, the sound of pots and running water. The sounds that had been part of this house for 4 years. The sounds he had never paid attention to because they were always there, like the air conditioning or the clock on the wall. And then he made the decision that would cost him everything. I'll talk to her tomorrow. He didn't talk to her tomorrow. He talked to her that night. Rosa was finishing the dishes when Daniel walked into the kitchen. She turned and saw his face, and she knew. She didn't know the details. She didn't know what Vanessa had said, but she knew the way you know when the air in a room changes. When someone walks toward you with a decision already made and nothing you say is going to change it. Rosa, I think it's time we make a change. Rosa's hands were still wet. She dried them slowly on the dish towel, folding it once, then twice, the way she folded everything in this house. With care, with attention, with a precision that came from years of understanding that when you don't own anything in the place where you work, the least you can do is treat it better than the people who do. A change, she repeated. I think it's better for Lily if we bring in someone new, someone with more boundaries. I appreciate everything you've done, Rosa. I really do. But I think Lily is too dependent on you, and that's not fair to her. Rosa looked at him. She didn't argue. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't cry. She just looked at him with steady dark eyes that held 4 years of 6:30 mornings and scraped knees and bedtime stories and birthday cakes and homework sessions and bad dreams and good days and all the invisible work that holds a child's world together. When do you want me to leave? I'll pay you through the end of the month. You can finish out the week. Rosa untied her apron, folded it, and placed it on the counter. She picked up her bag from the hook by the back door. Can I say goodbye to Lily? Daniel hesitated. Vanessa's voice was in his head. Clean break. Don't make it harder than it needs to be. I think it's better if you don't. I'll explain it to her. Rosa stood at the back door for 3 full seconds. She didn't turn around. She didn't beg. She walked out and closed the door behind her with a soft click that Daniel barely heard. But Lily heard it. Lily was in the hallway. She had heard the conversation. Not all of it, but enough. She had heard her father say, someone new, and she had heard the back door close. And when she ran to the kitchen and saw Rosa's apron folded on the counter and the hook by the door empty, she understood. She didn't scream. She didn't throw a tantrum. She stood in the middle of the kitchen and looked at her father with an expression that no 6-year-old should be capable of making. It was betrayal, not anger, not sadness. The specific look of someone who trusted you completely and just watched you prove that you didn't deserve it. Where's Rosa? Daniel crouched down to her level. Sweetheart, Rosa isn't going to be working here anymore, but we're going to find someone great. Where is she? She went home, Lily. Listen to me. Bring her back. I can't do that, sweetheart. Sometimes things change and bring her back. Her voice was flat. No tears, no wobble. Just the same 2 words repeated like she was stating a fact that her father was too slow to understand. Daniel tried to hug her. Lily stepped back. She turned around, walked to her room, closed the door, and didn't come out for the rest of the night. Daniel told himself it was a phase. Kids adjust. She'd be upset for a day or 2, and then she'd move on. That's what children do. She didn't move on. The next morning, Daniel went to wake Lily up. She was already awake, lying in bed, staring at the ceiling. He told her breakfast was ready. She didn't respond. He carried her to the kitchen and set her in front of a plate of scrambled eggs that Vanessa had made. Lily didn't touch them. She sat in the chair with her hands in her lap, looking at the plate like it belonged to someone else. "You need to eat, Lily." Nothing. "Lily, eat your breakfast." Nothing. Vanessa leaned against the counter with her coffee. "She'll eat when she's hungry. Don't make it a thing." Lily didn't eat that morning. She didn't eat lunch. At dinner, Daniel put her favorite meal in front of her. Mac and cheese from the box, the specific brand Rosa always bought. Lily looked at it, pushed the plate away, and went back to her room. Day 2 was the same. Day 3 was worse. On day 3, Lily stopped talking. Not gradually, not in pieces. She just stopped. Daniel asked her questions and she looked at him but didn't answer. Vanessa tried talking to her and Lily stared through her like she was a window. Daniel called Lily's school. Her teacher said Lily hadn't spoken in class for 2 days. She sat at her desk and did nothing. She didn't play at recess. She didn't respond when other kids talked to her. She just sat. "Mr. Carter, I don't know what's happening at home, but something is very wrong with your daughter." Daniel hung up and stood in his office with the phone in his hand and the first real crack forming in the story he had been telling himself. Daniel hired a new housekeeper the following week, a woman named Patricia, mid-50s, with references from 3 families in Paradise Valley. She was professional, experienced, and efficient. Lily didn't look at her once. Patricia made breakfast. Lily didn't eat it. Patricia tried to help her get dressed for school. Lily stood like a statue and let herself be dressed without moving or speaking. Patricia attempted conversation in the car. Lily stared out the window the entire ride. After 4 days, Patricia pulled Daniel aside. "Mr. Carter, I've worked with children for 22 years. Your daughter isn't being difficult. She's grieving. She lost someone important to her and she doesn't understand why. No new person is going to fix that. She doesn't need a replacement. She needs the person she lost." Daniel thanked her and said he'd think about it. He didn't think about it. He told himself Patricia was overreacting. Meanwhile, Vanessa was settling into the house like she owned it. With Rosa gone, there was nobody to manage Lily's routine. Vanessa had said she would handle things. She had said she wanted to be more involved. She had said Lily needed a mother figure, not a housekeeper. But what Vanessa actually did was nothing. Lily's lunch went unpacked for school 2 days in a row. The teacher had to give her food from the cafeteria. Lily's laundry piled up in the hamper until she ran out of clean shirts and wore the same one 3 days straight. Her room, which Rosa had kept organized with a system Lily understood, became a mess of scattered toys and clothes on the floor that nobody picked up. Daniel didn't notice because Daniel was at work. He left at 7 in the morning and came home at 6 or 7 at night. He saw Lily for an hour before bedtime. In that hour, he saw a quiet child who didn't want to talk. He didn't see the 10 hours before that, but the cameras did. Daniel had installed a home security system 2 years ago. 4 cameras, 1 in the living room, 1 in the kitchen, 1 covering the backyard, and 1 in the upstairs hallway. He had installed them for security purposes and had barely checked the footage since. The app sat on his phone, unused, collecting notifications he never opened. On a Wednesday night, 2 weeks after Rosa left, Daniel couldn't sleep. Lily had gone to bed without saying a single word to him. Not good night, not anything. She had walked to her room, climbed into bed fully dressed, and turned her back to the door. Daniel sat in his office at midnight, staring at his phone. He didn't know what made him open the camera app. Maybe it was Patricia's words still sitting in his head. Maybe it was the silence in the house that felt heavier than it should. Maybe it was the fact that his daughter hadn't spoken in 12 days, and he still didn't understand why. He opened the app and scrolled back to that morning's footage from the kitchen camera. What he saw made him put the phone down, close his eyes, and press his fists against his forehead. The footage was from 8:30 that morning. Lily was sitting at the kitchen table in the same shirt she had worn the day before. No plate in front of her, no glass of water, no food. Vanessa walked into the kitchen in a bathrobe, scrolling through her phone. She opened the fridge, took out a yogurt, grabbed a spoon, and sat at the counter with her back to Lily. She ate the yogurt while looking at her phone. She didn't say good morning. She didn't ask Lily if she was hungry. She didn't look at her once. Lily sat at the table for 11 minutes without moving. Then she got up, walked to the pantry, pulled out a box of crackers, and took it back to the table. She ate dry crackers for breakfast. Alone. In silence. While the adult who was supposed to be taking care of her sat 6 feet away looking at Instagram. Daniel scrolled to the next clip. 10:15 a.m. Lily was in the living room, sitting on the floor, staring at the TV. The TV wasn't on. She was just sitting there looking at a black screen. Vanessa walked through the room carrying her laptop and a coffee. She stepped over Lily's legs without stopping, like stepping over a shoe someone left on the floor. Daniel's hands were shaking. He scrolled further. 1 p.m. Lily was standing at the back door, looking out at the yard. Vanessa was on the couch talking on the phone, laughing about something. Lily turned around and walked toward her. She stood next to the couch and waited. Vanessa glanced at her and held up one finger, the universal sign for wait. Lily waited. She stood there for 4 minutes. Vanessa never got off the phone. Lily eventually walked away and went upstairs. Daniel put the phone down. He picked it up again. He scrolled back further. Not to last week, not to last month. He went back to footage from before Rosa was fired. And what he saw broke something inside him that he didn't know could break. The footage was from a Tuesday morning, 3 months ago. Rosa was in the kitchen at 6:45 a.m. She had already set the table. A plate with eggs and toast cut into triangles. A small glass of orange juice. A napkin folded next to the plate. And next to the napkin, a crayon drawing that Lily had made the day before that Rosa had saved and placed there so Lily would see it when she sat down. Rosa walked to Lily's room. The hallway camera picked her up. She opened the door quietly, sat on the edge of the bed, and rubbed Lily's back. Lily rolled over, smiled, and reached her arms up. Rosa picked her up and carried her to the kitchen. They ate together. Rosa cut Lily's toast into smaller pieces when she struggled with the big triangles. She wiped her mouth with the napkin. She listened while Lily talked about a dream she had about a purple dog. Daniel watched 14 clips that night. Different days, different weeks. Every single one showed the same thing. Rosa showing up. Rosa paying attention. Rosa being present in every small moment that Daniel had been too busy to see. Daniel didn't sleep that night. He sat in his office until 4 a.m. watching clip after clip. He watched Rosa help Lily with her homework at the kitchen table, patiently going over the same letter 6 times until Lily got it right. He watched Rosa put a Band-Aid on Lily's knee after she tripped in the backyard, blowing on the scrape the way mothers do. He watched Rosa sit on Lily's bedroom floor at 9 p.m., reading a story with voices for every character while Lily laughed so hard she kicked her feet under the blanket. And then, he watched the clips from after Vanessa moved in. He watched Vanessa tell Lily to stop talking because she was on a call. He watched Vanessa snap her fingers at Lily like she was calling a dog when she wanted her to move out of the way. He watched Vanessa roll her eyes when Lily showed her a drawing and say, "That's nice, go play somewhere else." He watched his daughter shrink. Clip by clip, week by week, Lily got smaller. She talked less. She smiled less. She stopped bringing her drawings to anyone. She stopped asking for things. She learned at 6 years old that the person living in her house didn't want to be bothered by her. And the only person who had stood between Lily and that reality was Rosa. Rosa had been the wall, and Daniel had torn it down because his girlfriend told him to. At 6 a.m., Daniel walked into the bedroom. Vanessa was asleep. He stood at the foot of the bed and said her name once. She opened her eyes and looked at him. "You need to leave." Vanessa sat up. "What?" Pack your things and leave this house today." "Daniel, what are you talking about? What happened?" "I watched the cameras." The color left her face, not slowly, all at once, like someone had pulled a plug and everything drained out in 1 second. She knew exactly what he meant. She didn't ask which cameras or what footage or what day. She knew because she knew what she had been doing. She just didn't think anyone was watching. "Daniel, you're overreacting. I was just—" "You have until noon." He walked out of the room, down the hall, and into Lily's room. She was awake, lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, the way she did every morning now. He sat on the edge of her bed and looked at his daughter. Her hair was tangled. There were cracker crumbs on her shirt. Her eyes were open but empty, the way eyes look when a person has stopped expecting anything good to happen. "I'm sorry, Lily," he said. She didn't look at him. "I made a mistake, a really big mistake." She still didn't look at him, but her fingers moved on the blanket. A small movement, the smallest sign that she was listening. Lily's birthday was 9 days away. She was turning 7, and Daniel had no idea that his daughter had already made a plan. Vanessa was gone by that afternoon. She packed 4 suitcases, called a car, and left without saying goodbye to Lily. Lily didn't notice. She didn't ask where Vanessa went. She didn't mention her name. Vanessa had lived in that house for 8 months and left no mark on the child's memory worth keeping. Daniel tried. Over the next 9 days, he tried harder than he had tried at anything in his life. He cooked Lily breakfast. He drove her to school himself. He came home by 4 every day. He sat on her bedroom floor and read her stories at night the way he had watched Rosa do on the cameras. Lily ate a little. She went to school. She let him read to her, but she didn't talk. She listened. She followed instructions. She existed in the house like a guest who was being polite. But she wasn't there. The girl who used to laugh at purple dog dreams and kick her feet under the blanket was somewhere else, somewhere Daniel couldn't reach. The night before her birthday, Daniel asked her what she wanted. He sat on her bed and said she could have anything, a party, a trip, a toy, anything she wanted. Lily looked at him for the first time in days. She opened her mouth, then closed it. Then she rolled over and faced the wall. Daniel turned off the light and left the room. At 5:45 the next morning, Lily got out of bed. She put on her shoes without socks. She didn't change out of her pajamas. She went to the kitchen, opened the junk drawer, and pulled out a piece of paper. On it was an address she had copied weeks ago from an envelope she had found in her father's office. An envelope with Rosa's final paycheck that had been returned because Rosa had refused to cash it. Lily folded the paper, put it in her pajama pocket, walked to the front door, unlocked the deadbolt with both hands, and stepped outside. She was 6 years old. She had no phone, no map, no understanding of how far 3 miles actually was. She just started walking. Daniel woke up at 7:15. He went to Lily's room. The bed was empty. He checked the bathroom, the kitchen, the backyard, the garage. He called her name through the house. Nothing. He checked the front door. It was unlocked. Daniel called the police at 7:22. His voice cracked on the phone. "My daughter is gone. She's 6. She's in pajamas. I don't know where she went." 2 patrol cars were dispatched. Daniel got in his car and drove through the neighborhood, windows down, calling her name. He drove for 38 minutes before his phone rang. "Mr. Carter, we found your daughter. She's safe. She's at a residence on Maple Avenue, a woman named Rosa Delgado." Daniel's hands froze on the steering wheel. He closed his eyes, and for the first time in weeks, he could breathe. He drove to Maple Avenue in 9 minutes. Rosa's apartment was on the 2nd floor of a small building with chipped paint and a narrow staircase. Daniel climbed the stairs and stopped at the door. It was open. A police officer stood outside and nodded at him. Daniel stepped inside. The apartment was small. 1 bedroom, a kitchen the size of his walk-in closet, a living room with a couch that had a blanket folded neatly over the arm. Everything was clean. Everything was organized. Everything looked like Rosa. And there, in the tiny kitchen, standing on a step stool pushed against the counter, was Lily. Her pajamas were dusty. Her feet were dirty from walking 3 miles without socks. Her hair was a mess. She was stirring something in a bowl. Cake batter. Rosa stood next to her, one hand on Lily's back to keep her steady on the stool, the other hand holding the bowl still. On the counter beside them were 2 eggs, a bag of flour, a small bottle of vanilla, and a box of candles. 7 candles. Rosa looked up when Daniel walked in. Her eyes were red. She had been crying, but her hand stayed on Lily's back, steady, the way it had always been. Lily turned and saw her father. She didn't climb down. She didn't run to him. She looked at him from the step stool with flour on her fingers and said the first full sentence she had spoken in 3 weeks. Rosa remembered my birthday. Daniel stood in the doorway of that tiny kitchen and felt every excuse he had ever made collapse at the same time. Every late night at the office, every business trip, every time he nodded along to Vanessa's complaints without checking, every time he chose convenience over attention, every time he assumed his daughter was fine because the house was quiet and nobody was complaining, it all fell apart in that kitchen. Standing in front of a woman who made $600 a week and spent her morning off making a birthday cake from scratch for a child who wasn't hers. A child who had walked 3 miles barefoot to find her because Rosa was the only person in her life who had never once let her down. "I'm sorry, Rosa," Daniel said. His voice broke on her name. Rosa shook her head. "Don't apologize to me, Mr. Carter. Apologize to her." Daniel looked at his daughter. Lily was watching him with her big brown eyes, waiting, not for a gift, not for a party, just for her father to finally see what had been right in front of him for 4 years. "I see you, Lily," he said, "and I'm never going to stop seeing you again." Rosa came back the next week, not as a housekeeper, as family, and every year on Lily's birthday, no matter where they are or what's happening, Rosa makes the cake, from scratch, in whatever kitchen they're in, with Lily standing next to her, stirring the batter. Because showing up is the only proof of love that actually counts. Not the words, not the money, not the big gestures, just being there. Every morning, every night, every time it matters. That's it. That's everything. And that's where this story ends. If it made you feel something, hit that like button and share it with someone who needs to hear it today. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a story like this one. Now tell me in the comments, who was the real hero here? Was it Daniel for finally opening his eyes? Rosa for never stopping her love? Or Lily for walking 3 miles to find the one person who never forgot her? I'll see you in the next one.